Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. My distinguished guests, brothers, the topic of this conference is Islamophobia, but I have asked our brother Maulana Habib Rahman to allow me to speak about a very burning issue, and that is the issue of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and what happened during the last 2 weeks. We have to remember always in our life that Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, where the Muslims used to turn their faces in prayer for 16 months when they came from Makkah to Al-Madinah. So this is why it is known as the first Qibla of the Muslims as well. Then this place is the place of the night journey of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the place about which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-harami ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawlahu linuriyahu min ayatina innahu was-sami'ul basir. The place where barakah, the blessing has been placed everywhere around it. How many prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are buried in Palestine? Sayyidina Abu Dharr radiyallahu ta'ala and asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which was the first mosque to be established in the land? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Al-Baytul Haram, the sacred mosque of Makkah. After that, he said, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And then he said, what span of time was between the two mosques? And he said, 40 years. This hadith also tells us that the Prophet ﷺ, when he mentioned Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, he did not mention the mosque of Al-Madinah at that time. So the very hadith tells us that this Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, which is the farthest mosque, there should be a mosque nearer to Mecca, and that is the mosque of Al-Madinah, which is going to be established in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, the span of the time between the two mosques is 40 years. Some of the Mufassirin, they have said that it means that Sayyidina Adam was the first one to establish Al-Baytul Haram, and after 40 years, he established Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. But I like the opinion of Imam Ibn Ashur. He said that Al-Masjid Al-Haram, as you know, that it has been raised, the foundation wall has been raised by Sayyidina Ibrahim. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَعِيلُ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. And he himself, Sayyidina Ibrahim himself, within his lifetime, within 40 years, he established Baytul Muqaddas as well, or Al-Masjid Al-Maqsa. Now, the question is that why the Jews or the Zionists, they claim that the temple of Sulaiman or Solomon was there in the courtyard of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, around the very same place which is known as the rock. Why? Why do they want that? So this is why we have to have a glance about the history of Bani Israel for about 1,000 years before Isa alayhi salam. The main thing is that the temple of Solomon, was it built by Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam? You would say yes, because Bible tells about it. But there is a very, very strong opinion that the story of the building of temple of Solomon is a hoax. It's totally a hoax. This temple was never built by Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam. The books of Bible which tell about the building of the temple of Solomon, these books are suspected. These books are suspected to be fabricated, interpolated, change has happened in them. This is the opinion of many researchers from Muslims and non-Muslims. And rationally, just think rationally, that Bible says that temple of Solomon was built in 7 years. In 7 years, 180,000 laborers were employed to build the temple of Solomon. 180,000, just remember this number. Tons of gold was spent upon it. For what a building? What was the size of the building? 30 meter by 30 meter. Who could imagine that you have to spend such a load of money and load of gold for this small building? So this is why it it is to be understood that it is a hoax. But even if we say that it has been built, then that temple is no more there. There is no impression, not even a brick of that temple which remained there. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that there were two corruptions by Bani Israel. Two corruptions by Bani Israel. وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ فِي الْكِتَابِ لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. Same ayat of Surah Al-Isra. That you are going to make corruption in the land twice. So what happened? Just a very brief history of Bani Israel. Bani Israel in the 1,000 years before Isa alayhi salam, from Dawood alayhi salam to Isa alayhi salam, about 1,000 years. In that period, in 587 BC, a king of Babylonia, which is known as Iraq, Bukhtunossor in Arabic, Nebuchadnezzar in English, has invaded Palestine. And after invading Palestine, he has demolished the Temple of Solomon totally. Not even a brick was left out. And then he has taken the Jews as captives to Babylonia, and he let them settle in a newly built town known as Tel Aviv on the coast of Euphrates, Al-Furat. And the present Tel Aviv is just in the memory of that old Tel Aviv was established. So, this Haikal or this temple of Solomon was demolished completely. Even if you think that there was a temple. And then another king, that was the king of Persia, Khusru in Persian language, Cyrus in English, Horus in Arabic. That king invaded Palestine, he conquered Babylonia, and then he brought the Jews back to Palestine. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمُ الْكَرَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them another chance. Go and now try to be a good Muslim. So they were brought back to Palestine, and another king who is known as Herod, he was not a Roman king. He was also from the same tribe, but not from Bani Israel. He was from the line of Esau, the son of Ishaq. Not from the line of Yaqub, the son of Ishaq. So that in that line, this King Herod, who built the second temple. So this second temple, did it survive? No. In the history of Bani Israel, once again, we hear about the Titus, the Roman commander. In 70 AD, he invaded Palestine once again, and he demolished the second temple as well. The only thing which is the remnant of that temple is the western wall, which is now known to be the Wailing Wall, or Al-Ha'itul Mabka, where the Jews stand there and they try to weep and cry. They say that this is the only wall which has been left. But the main thing is that there were so many people who tried to find out any evidence to show that there used to be a temple there, but they could not find. They could not find at all. There is Charles Warren in 1867, a great researcher from this country. He said that we did not find any evidence of the temple there after doing his research. Another man, Walter Shaw, in 1929, he said that all the land facing the Wailing Wall is an endowment, Islamic endowment, al-Waqf al-Islami. And Bani Israel or Yahud got nothing to do with that land. So that was the second time they corrupted in the land, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has punished them, and this is why they were expelled from Palestine, and they got scattered everywhere. There were 12 tribes of Bani Israel. Ask any person among the Bani Israel, he would tell you that there is no trace of 10 tribes. Where these 10 tribes have gone, where they disappeared. They disappeared in the valleys of Afghanistan, in the valleys of Qaf mountain, in India, in Turkestan, in Iraq, in India, in so many places. So they have no desire to come back. They were just happy wherever they have settled down. That is only this Zionist movement in the last century, which has convened its first conference in Basel in Switzerland in the last century, when they said, why not we try to create an excuse to come back to Palestine? So what was the excuse? The excuse was, we have to rebuild the Temple of Solomon. And for rebuilding the Temple of Solomon, we must capture Jerusalem. And for Jerusalem to capture, we must dominate Palestine. So this is how this world conspiracy started in the beginning of the last century. And I don't want to repeat the whole the history, but anyhow, this country got a greater hand in establishing that occupied land, which is, of course, which is now inflicting all that misery to the real people of Palestine, who are the Palestinians. So, my dear brothers, there was no trace of the Temple of Solomon, not even for the first temple, not even for the second temple. I just tell you a second thing about the second temple is that in 313, when the Queen Helen erected the Church of Resurrection, this Church of Resurrection, which is known as Kanisatul Qiyamah, and our brother Hafiz Abdul Allah is sitting here. He must have visited Kanisatul Qiyamah in his last visit. And I also visited it 15 years ago. This Cathedral of Resurrection, or the Church of Resurrection, she has used all what she found among the pillars of the second temple of Herod, and she used it in the building of Kanisatul Qiyamah. So nothing is left of that temple. So to say that we are going to build a temple on the very same site where it was existed in the beginning, again, that got no evidence at all. And for that purpose, the occupied forces in Palestine, they are digging tunnels under Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. Why these tunnels are dug? Just to find out even a small brick, a small stone from the time of the first Heikel, first temple, so they can show to the world that, yes, we got something. But till now, they did not find any evidence at all. But what is going to happen? That is a very cunning device. Why? Because if there are so many tunnels under the foundation of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, if a slight tremor happens, God said, if a slight tremor happens, then Masjid Al-Aqsa is going to fall. And then they would say, all right, no more Masjid Al-Aqsa. So, the way is open for us to enter into the courtyard of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and build this temple. This is what they want to do. And this is why it becomes the duty of each and every Muslim, not just Palestinian. If you see now the news items, news on different channels, on YouTube you will find Palestinians, they are shouting, they are demonstrating. Even a woman, totally in veil, standing in the courtyard of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and crying to the people, where are the Muslims? Where are the Muslim rulers, the kings and ministers? None. So we have to go back, we have to turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers, in the end, because the time is very much limited and I should not exceed my time, let me say that what you can do as Muslims in this country. The first thing is that I believe, this is my very strong opinion, that those people who are able to visit Palestine, they should visit Palestine. As the Britishers, Europeans, you can go there. As I went there, as Hafiz Saab has just gone. So you can visit that place. I know that there are some Palestinian ulama and scholars who oppose that opinion. And I have been subjected to that opposition in a conference in America. When I spoke this opinion to them, they said no, because it is under occupation, Muslims should not visit it. Same thing happened in Mecca in a conference of Rabita, where the Shaykh al-Azhar, or the Mufti of al-Azhar was there. And when I gave this opinion, he became enraged. And he said, no, you can't say to the people to visit Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. But this is my opinion, and I stand for it, that when you go there, at least you bring some relief, some happiness to the people of Palestine. They know that there are some brothers who are concerned about them. They speak about them. They share their grief and sorrows. So this is why you have to visit them. And when you visit them, at least you are going to give some donations and you are going to help your brothers. Then you can donate towards the different projects which are going on, like growing olive trees. That is a great project in which you can contribute. And after that, protest. You are living in a democracy. You can register your protest here in front of the occupied embassy in London. That this is a matter of our sacred mosque, the sacred place, the mosque. It is not politics. It is our mosque. It is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't allow that the dirty feet should trespass that land and then start shooting there. No, we cannot allow. We can't tolerate that. So you should protest and you should register your protest. And in the end, at least what you can do is to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help our Muslim brothers, sisters to face that aggressions and enable us to help them as far as we can. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.